Welcome to the Fibromyalgia Podcast. I'm Tami, fibromyalgia coach, author, and founder of the International Fibromyalgia Coaching Institute. The goal of this podcast is to empower you with access to the dream team of experts and coaches I've discovered are key to living the fibro life you love. From the comfort of your own home, and maybe even your pajamas, I'll help you take back control of your life and health. To help out with fibro fog, I always include full show notes and additional resources at fibromyalgiapodcast.com. Welcome to the Fibromyalgia Podcast. I'm your coach, Tami, and this is episode 85. Today, I want to talk to you a little bit about self-sabotage. You might also have heard the term upper limiting. This is a term that was made popular by Gay Hendricks in his book, The Big Leap, which, by the way, I highly recommend. Upper limiting yourself or self-sabotage is a concept that when you are improving, as life is getting better, this could be with your health, this could be with your business, this could be with relationships, you get to a certain point. You might think of it as your comfort zone. And when you get to that edge, you do things to bring it back from the edge. A good example might be someone who is trying to be in better shape. Maybe they're trying to change their diet, be a little bit healthier, maybe exercise a little bit more. And as they grow and change, people around them might start making comments like maybe their family isn't so happy about the healthier food choices that have replaced the comfort food, right? And because they are at that edge of comfort where if they go any further, they're going to have to change some things, like they're going to have to confront their family or have to make a stand for, no, this is what I need. Then they get a little uncomfortable and they sabotage themselves. And maybe they go out and, eat some food that they had been avoiding for months or stop working out or other things like that. I see this with fibromyalgia as well, believe it or not. You might think that someone with fibromyalgia only wants to get better and is working towards that being better. But in order to get better, you're also going to have to change. And changing is sometimes uncomfortable. People around you might make you uncomfortable, right? As you are learning to listen to your body, learning to say no, other people around you might not like that. Maybe the things that you used to do for them, you're no longer doing, right? And so that discomfort, that edge of your comfort zone, where if you go a little bit further, you feel uncomfortable, that can sometimes keep you from getting better. That can even keep you from improving your fibromyalgia. So what do we do with this? Knowing it isn't enough. We have to actually do something about it. You can do a few different things. One of the most important things, I think, is to not do this alone. It can be really, really hard to see where you are sabotaging yourself. It can be really hard to see where you are upper limiting yourself because it's something you actually are doing unconsciously. And so if it's unconscious, that by definition means that you aren't aware of it, right? So having some help with seeing the places where you might not be pushing through to the other side, where you might stop in your improvements, it can be really helpful to talk to somebody about that. Another thing that you can do is really become aware of why you are doing what you're doing. So sometimes just improving your fibromyalgia, having less pain, having less fatigue, having more energy, clearer brain, better sleep, sometimes those things actually aren't enough. And that might sound a little odd, but what's really important is what you get to do with your life when those things are better. Right? When I talk to people about why they want to improve their fibromyalgia, it actually sounds like, I want to be able to be there when my first grandbaby is born. It sounds like they offered me this promotion at work and I don't know if I'm well enough to do it. Or I have these big dreams and I need to be well enough to do them. Or I really, really want to help people and I need to be healthy enough to do that. There's always a reason. So getting in tune with what your reason is really, really important. Because then when things get uncomfortable, you can remember why you're doing what you're doing. Nobody wants to go to bed on time just to go to bed on time. But you might want to go to bed on time so that you feel better tomorrow. You might want to go to bed on time so that when you work on that project tomorrow, or you're with your grandkids tomorrow, or you're at work tomorrow, you can be your best, most clear, pain-free as possible self. So talking it through with somebody and remembering why you're doing what you're doing are two really important steps. But what else can you do? Well, you can purposefully set goals and create a plan that moves you outside your comfort zone. If you know you have to change in order to feel better, which you will, there'll be a certain amount of improvement you can get without changing much. But if you really want your fibromyalgia to be in remission, if you want to be pain-free someday, if you want to feel as good as possible, you absolutely 100% are going to have to change some things in your life, because what you're doing right now isn't getting you there. Pretty simple. So making a specific plan, thinking step by step through what you are going to work on, what the result is you're looking for, and then what you do next when you see or don't see that result, and actually having a step-by-step plan that leads you out past your comfort zone makes it more comfortable. Anything you can do to make it even just a little bit more comfortable makes it easier for you to take that next step, to go a little bit farther, become a little bit better. I also think it's important to remember that skills are transferable. So if you have found ways to go outside your comfort zone in another area of your life, you can take those same skills and apply it to your own health. I'll give you an example. When I was writing my books, the coach that I worked with at the time, she would take us on a retreat. And on that retreat, we would do some really crazy things. We did improv once. We had somebody come and lead us in an improv session. Talk about going outside your comfort zone, right? Acting, improving with no script, nothing. That's what improv is, right? One other time, she took us indoor skydiving. Another stepping outside your comfort zone. The more you step outside your comfort zone, the easier it is to step outside your comfort zone. In fact, I might say that I am at the point where I am more comfortable being uncomfortable than I am being comfortable. I know that sounds like I'm talking in a circle there, but it's true. I have stepped outside my comfort zone so much with writing books and creating a company and teaching classes and working with clients that it's pretty normal for me to be in a situation where I'm a little bit uncomfortable. And so it's easier to do. So think about the skills that you have that can transfer. So what might it look like if you are sabotaging your own health? What might it look like if you are sabotaging your fibro journey? Some of the things that I've seen with students and clients look like this. You do really well taking your medication and your supplements for a while, and then it gets really hard to take them and you just don't want to, and then you don't take them for a while. Another example would be doing really good at avoiding gluten or whatever dietary changes your doctor has you make. You do really, really well, and then you fall off the wagon. Or you do really well at saying no to things and listening to your body and making sure that you are living within your energy budget. And then you end up just blowing it all, right? You just do way too much, or you say yes to everything and you start feeling guilty, and you end up in that same place where you are exhausted and have said yes to everything and aren't listening to your body as she's screaming. Another example, this is my own, this is true story. I do really, really well at going to bed on time for a little while, and then it slips a little bit later and a little bit later. And next thing I know, I am staying up almost all night and we start over. I know that this is one of the ways that I sabotage myself, is not getting enough sleep, not going to bed when I should. I sit there in my living room scrolling through on Facebook and thinking, why am I even doing this? I don't even want to do this. Why am I not in bed? And that's the reason. It's a little bit of self-sabotage. It's upper limiting myself. So what are some of the ways that you might be sabotaging your health? And why? That's the better question. Why are you doing it? I can tell you that with me and with my clients, some of the reasons that I see are things like you're worried about your relationships. Classic example is you changing how you eat. And if you're the person who is cooking for the family, then you're either cooking multiple meals or they're having to eat the way you do, and maybe they don't want to. And so there's some pushback. And so sometimes it can feel easier to just not do it. Some other things might be you just don't want to make those changes. I had a client once who asked me, will I have to give up coffee and chocolate to work with you? It's one of my favorite questions ever because it just says so much more than just chocolate and coffee, right? I mean, fibromyalgia so often is this massive taking away of things. We lose friends, we lose jobs, we lose hobbies. We're feeling like we're in a stranger's body sometimes. And so, do I really have to give up coffee and chocolate too? Well, my answer to her is only if you want to. I mean, if you want to work on that, then sure, we can work on that. But there's so many other things we can work on. And that's why I think it's really, really valuable to have help through this process. We can be so blinded by our own situation that we just honestly can't see any other way. If your family is feeling frustrated that you're now cooking all these healthy things that they don't want to eat, you might feel like the only options are do or don't. And maybe having some help, having someone else to talk through that with might give you some more options. I also think a lot of times the reasons we don't do things are actually pretty simple to fix. So recently, with my own journey trying to go to bed on time, I turned on the screen time, where it locks your phone after a certain amount of time so you go to bed. I just turned that on. That's something I could have turned on a long, long time ago. There are other things that we can do too. Sometimes it's just little practical things, like realizing that, you know what? If the kitchen counter is buried under things, then I'm probably not going to want to cook dinner. And if the counter is clear, I am much more apt to make dinner instead of just ordering something. There might be ways that you can figure out how to do your physical therapy exercises, setting up your life in such a way that it's actually easier to do the thing than to not do the thing. And as I said, sometimes it can be really hard to see these things for yourself. So working with someone can be a real help on this. Even just talking to a friend can be helpful. But of course, as coaches, this is something that we're actually trained to do. So we often can help our clients with these types of things. So your first step in this process is to honestly look at yourself and see if there are places where things have gotten uncomfortable for you, and so you haven't pushed through. That might be things like exercise. That might be things like changing your diet. That might be things like saying no or managing your energy better. The bottom line to this is you have to make changes if you're going to feel better. You just have to. Because like I said, if what you were doing right now was enough, you would feel better. Now, I just want to take a minute here to say it is important to remember that these changes aren't necessarily permanent. Sometimes they might be. Most of the time, for most of my clients, I see that they have to give these things up temporarily. I was actually just talking with one of my coaches earlier today about this, about the fact that you could think of it like if you broke your leg, right? If you break your leg, yes, you've got to stop running. You've got to stop your downhill skiing. You've got to stop walking around on that broken leg, and you need to put it up and give it time to rest and give it time to heal. Just like that, in your own fibro life, there may be things that you have to give up temporarily so that you can give your body the space to heal. And fighting against that isn't going to make it work any faster. Fighting against that, giving things up temporarily or changing things temporarily isn't going to make you get better any faster. It's actually going to make it take longer. So talk with someone if you need to, get real and honest with yourself, and think about why you want to do this. Like I said, nobody wants to go to bed early just to go to bed early. We're doing it so that we can do something else. So what do you need to give up temporarily? What do you need to change temporarily so that you can get what you really want, which is to be able to feel better and go out there and live your life? And while we're talking about giving things up temporarily, I do think it's also important to be realistic about our expectations with that. You know, you might be able to heal from a broken bone in a few weeks, but fibromyalgia is going to take a little bit longer. There's a lot more going on in your body. And depending on how long you've been dealing with symptoms, there might be a lot more that has to heal. I can tell you in my own case, when I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia, it was in 2007. I had been married about 6 months. And for the first 2 years or so, I think, I was barely treading water. I was taking the medications, but I wasn't doing all of the things that I'm teaching you to do. I wasn't working with my coach yet. There was just so much that I wasn't doing, but I was still taking my medication. In 2009, my doctor introduced me to a health coach, and I started making some of these changes that I'm talking to you about. I started really looking at my sleep, changing my diet, managing my energy, looking at how I could change how I live to start getting better. In my case, it was about 6 months was a dramatic change from January when I started working with my coach to July, when I went to a conference. There was a dramatic difference in how much better I was. Was I all the way better? Absolutely not. When I started coaching myself after that conference, I literally was coaching people sitting in bed. So no, I was not healed in 6 months. That just kept improving little bit by little bit. At this stage, in June 2022, my fibromyalgia has been in remission. That means zero pain for several years. The last time I remember any fibro pain was New Year's Eve 2018. So it's been, 3.5 years since I had any fibro pain. But that took me 10, 12 years to get there. This is a marathon. This is not a sprint. This is not a, let me cut this out for a few days, get better, and go back to my old habits. This is not that kind of a thing. This is a gradually changing, gradually improving, looking for every little bit that you can improve and change to get to where you want to be. Now, what if you're not ready to make those changes? I can hear you. I mean, there's some areas where I'm not willing to make changes, right? My sleep keeps drifting. If I really wanted to fix that, I could be better about fixing it. But what if you're not ready? That is absolutely okay. These are hard things to change. It is hard to look at your life in a way that is so detailed and looking for places and ways that you can improve your health. It's hard. And so if you're not ready, that's okay. The only thing that I would say to that is own it. If you're not ready to do anything about it, own it. Don't be sitting around saying that you want to do whatever it takes to feel better if you're actually not willing to do whatever it takes. It is perfectly okay for you to accept where you are and be there. That's okay with fibromyalgia too. If you really don't want to give up coffee and chocolate, then own it. Say, you know what? I don't want to give these things up right now. That is so much better than being in conflict with yourself, saying that you want to make these changes and then not making the changes. All that does is make you feel bad. And trust me, we got enough of that already. You do not need more things that make you feel bad. So let's just own the reality of it and own what you're willing to do and what you're not willing to do. Now, at this stage, a lot of people ask me, what do I need to change? What do I need to do? I'm ready. I'm willing. I just don't know what to do. I just need somebody to tell me what it is that I need to do. If that's you, if that's where you are ready, you just need somebody to tell you what to do, go right now to findafibrocoach.com and schedule a consultation with me or one of my coaches. That is what we do. If you are ready to make the changes and you are ready to do the work, but you just need the ideas, you just need the guidance, you need new suggestions, we would love to help you with that. There are so many things that can be done to improve fibromyalgia. If your doctor has told you there's not much, then it's just because they don't know much. There are so many things that can be done. I promise you, we can come up with some things you haven't tried yet, or give you some tips on how the things that you did try that didn't work, how they might work for you this time with a few tweaks. We would love to help you with that. So I'm just going to leave you with this thought. If you are not where you want to be with your health, have you truly tried everything that you could try? Have you tried the things that your doctor suggested? Really tried them, not just sort of tried them. You know, if they gave you a medication, did you take it exactly like you were supposed to? Have you talked to one of our coaches? Have you had a consultation for new ideas? Have you done the work? If you haven't, and it's because you didn't want to, then that is okay. Own it. And if you haven't because you didn't have the support you needed to do it, then what can you do to find that support? What can you do to have that support? There are online support groups out there. There are counselors and therapists. You can talk with your doctor. Of course, you can talk to a coach. That's what we do. But look for how you can find that support and decide what that next step is going to be for you to expand your comfort zone and to move beyond where you're comfortable with your health, to make those changes and do those things that are going to make a difference. Now, I want to leave you with today's listener shout out. This is actually from an Instagram post. So a couple weeks ago, I had posted a quote from one of the students in my Certified Fibromyalgia Advisor class. Rhonda said, "This course is making me see so many things from a different perspective. Not just that I have, quote, issues or personality deficiencies, but that I have a health disorder." Now, I asked Rhonda if I could share that. That was a comment that she made on one of her homework assignments, and she said, absolutely. And she wants you all to know that you are not lazy. You just simply have a health condition, and that is okay. Now, I shared her quote on Instagram, and this is where the listener shout out comes in. Tami replied to this. Yes, Tami, like my name, but she spells it different. She says, this is spot on. Every time I listen to your podcast or hear stories like this, I feel like I finally found my people. I cannot wait to know more. Thank you for all you are and do. Thanks so much for that, Tami. And thank you, Rhonda, for letting me share your homework with everybody. And I just want to comment on what Tami said there about feeling like you finally found your people. There is something so powerful in talking to somebody who really gets you, who understands the challenges that you're going through, who knows what it's like to live with fibromyalgia every day and to overcome it. And somebody who knows what it takes to improve, what things you might have to change and how to go about making those changes. It can be so healing, so powerful. So if you are like Tami and you feel like you finally found your people, then let's get connected. Absolutely, you can go to findafibrocoach.com to schedule a consultation with me or with one of my coaches, or come join us on Facebook or Instagram or any of the other places where we hang out. See you back here next time. And that wraps up another episode of the Fibromyalgia Podcast. I'm your coach, Tami Stacklehouse. For daily doses of hope, inspiration, and practical advice, come hang out with me on Facebook. Visit facebook.com/fibrocoach to find my personal coaching page and connect with me directly. To find the show notes, additional resources, or to schedule a consultation with me or one of my coaches, visit fibromyalgiapodcast.com.